Welcome to part 3 of my Pokémon saga. Mairtin, Madeline, and Shane fit all too well into the Galar region, for each three very different reasons. Shane would love to explore the locales, roam the forest in the wild area, while Madeline focuses on getting to know as many Pokémon as possible. But Mairtin, you already know his main focus would be to tackle the League, so let's tackle it today. You'll have to forgive me. It's probably more appropriate to be speculating on Legend ZA, but I love the charm of the Galar region so much, and it's thematically important to our characters. Mairtin's interest in the League would be apparent from the start. Just like he dreams of wielding Excalibur one day, Mairtin and Galar would definitely be coming for Leon's title. His first Pokemon would obviously be the athletic Scorbunny. It's a fire type, just like him, and choosing to go toe-to-toe with the League champion and his own highly trained fire type is a testament to their battle come down to skill and wits rather than type advantage. Based on rabbits and hares, early Irish myths claimed that they were sacred, likely to be fairy women in disguise. The consumption of rabbit was forbidden except on Beltane, the first day of summer, usually the hottest day of the year. Beltane is mentioned in the earliest Irish literature as the summer festival of fire and growth. To celebrate Beltane and Galar, the Wooloo would be driven out to summer pastures, and Scorbunny would light fires as a ritual protection against evil. Yellow flowers were a primary decoration through the festival, probably to symbolize fire as well. Scorbunny's abilities can't be understated for the challenge. Its evolutionary line comes with an exceptional ability called Libero. Libero refers to a footballer position called the sweeper. The sweeper is an offensive position with a versatile role. Their job is to sweep the ball away from the opponent in order to keep it free from the other team. Libero is Italian for free. Freedom is a very important tenet for Mairtin's beliefs. He does get involved in the 1300 Scottish Rebellion. In Pokemon, Libero allows Scorbunny to change its typing like a rabbit often changes coats during the seasons, based on the type to a move it just used. This also refers to a powerful ability that Mairtin obtains later in life. For fairness, Scorbunny's Pokedex says, a warm-up of running around gets fire energy coursing through this Pokemon's body. Once that happens, it's ready to fight at full power. It has special pads on the backs of its feet and one on its nose. Once it's raring to fight, these pads radiate tremendous heat. But he wouldn't only be using Scorbunny. Upon crossing near Lake Millock, in order to apply for their league numbers, he and Shane obtained Tyrogue, while he and Madeline obtained Ralts. Tyrogue feels like an important Pokemon to represent Shane and Mairtin's rivalry. Early in life, they're like twins, who would then evolve and grow in distinctly different ways. Mairtin's Ralts is specifically male, while Madeline's is female. This is to denote the evolutionary lines along the specific gender roles associated with King Arthur and Guinevere. I like using this line to represent them because Gallade is not a traditional masculine, muscular hero type, and Gardevoir isn't any wilting flower. It is a very strong and defensive Pokemon to mirror Madeline's fierce determination. After this, the group came to Turffield. While Shane was looking at the landscapes, Mairtin was tackling the first gym challenge against Milo, a grass-type trainer. But gym challenges in Galar are more than just a string of battles. First, Mairtin would have to herd a flock of Wooloo in order to challenge Milo. In the cultural history of the UK, I speculate that Milo represents the agrarian worker. He represents a yeoman farmer cultivating land for the elite societies. He's like a Pokemon version of Jethro Tull, not the band, a British agriculturalist that perfected the horse-drawn seed drill and helped provide the basis for modern agriculture. One of England's crops that benefited most from Tull's methods is cotton, and this is why Milo's ace is Eldegoss, the cotton bloom Pokemon. Despite this obvious type advantage, Mairtin would still have a lot of respect for Milo. This guy regularly throws around 700 pounds, or 350 kilos of hay, just for daily warm-up, so he's obviously no slouch. And most gym battles accumulate in a grand spectacle, Dynamaxing. Remember in Madeline's video when we talked about the Darkest Day, and how a massive venomous dragon began causing Pokemon to go berserk and grow gigantic? After 300 years, gym battles now encourage this as a mechanic. There's potentially something to consider in terms of ethics here. Every trainer is given a special band with a piece of the special comet that was causing these transformations in the first place. Then trainers choose whether or not to use this stone to draw out this power in their Pokemon. However, are they really doing what's right? Speculation here is that Dynamaxing would have the same effect as Eternatus' poison, and effectively drive Pokemon berserk. When Shane and Madeline learn this, they vow to do what they can to never have to Dynamax their Pokemon. However, for Mairtin and Scorbunny, they breach that edge in a fight without even realizing the implications. Scorbunny is thrilled for the next gym challenge, but Mairtin is unsure. Thankfully, with time until we get to Nessa, the water gym leader, he'll have some time to think about it. After stopping for pastries following the gym battle, Mairtin spots what looks like a Rookidee near the bakery window. However, this one's golden feathers glimmer in the sun. Anyone who's familiar with the story will recognize this is a reference to our second episode, in which Mairtin encounters a blue crossbill. Crossbills are a native bird of Scotland and usually come in shades of yellow or red. Rookidee are a native bird to Galar and usually come in shades of blue. It's really novel to just watch how the colors switch. Although Rookidee isn't based on a crossbill, they're based on chickadees, a bird native to New England and Canada, and rooks. Rooks are a large corvid, which explains its final evolution, Corviknight, also referencing knights, but also the Celtic war goddess Morrigan was often associated with crows and corvids as well. This aligns with the militant themes sewn all throughout Mairtin's character, even down to his name, meaning warrior. Nessa is the next stop in Mairtin's gym challenge. Her name is taken from Loch Ness, and that's fitting being that she's the water-type gym leader. Her career as an athletic swimmer and as a fashion model mirrors South Asian immigrants living in the British Isles. She could be a reference to Leah Chowdhury, a British woman from Southeast Asian descent who swam the length of the English Channel in 2018. Alternatively, she could also be based on Naomi Campbell, a well-known British fashion model. After finishing Nessa's gym challenge, this battle would prove way more challenging, especially for Mairtin. While Scorbunny could use Libero to evade its water weakness, he'd have no strong counters like Shane's Grookey or Madeline's Greavard. Dreadnought, Nessa's ace, has a high attack and defense, and once it Dynamaxes, it gets even more dangerous. Thankfully, Mairtin would have one trick up his sleeve to make this battle easier. After beating Milo, he'd obtain the TM-10 Magical Leaf, which could be taught to Ralts. TMs are a special type of item that teaches a Pokemon moves, almost like a computer learning class, and Magical Leaf is described as a strange leaf that follows the target and never misses. This special leaf would also allow a Dynamax Ralts to use Max Overgrowth and make short work of Nessa's water-based team. Now, there are some lore discrepancies on exactly how Dynamaxing or Gigantamaxing actually works. Some of the promotional and pre-release material suggested that Dynamaxing forms are just projections of a Pokemon's emotional state when affected with the energy of these Dynamax battles. However, even if that's the case, the potential danger of Dynamaxing would be less physical and more psychological. It's hard to know really. Some of the lore suggests that Dynamax Pokemon that get loose from their dens have gone on kaiju-style rampages. You could almost consider Dynamax energy a bit like the radiation that created monsters like Gojira, which is honestly why it's a crime we can't ever see a Dynamax Baxcalibur. One Paldean Pokemon that would make the Arthurian lore just perfect, it would have to be Baxcalibur, as an allegory for King Arthur's famous sword. But instead, we still have Zacian. Oh, and by the way, Zacian and Zamazenta are the anti-Dynamax Pokemon, because they're the ones who stopped the darkest day in the lore. These two Pokemons are the only ones in Sword and Shield who actually can't Dynamax, and that's a neat detail that I appreciate. All this aside, in the story, this is usually the point where most players would go to Mostoke and face Kabu, or Stow-on-Side, to fight Bee or Alistair. However, due to the fantastical nature of the forest around Balonley, the trio traveled across to see the great glowing mushrooms, the dark lush foliage, and the tricky Pokemon Impidimp, Indeedee, and Shiinotic. This actually mimics the way I played the game myself. Balonley is my favorite location, and I couldn't resist the draw to explore it. This also draws parallel to the time that Mairtin, Madeline, and Shane decided to explore a spooky forest and uncovered a witch that they couldn't face off against. But in order to get to Blomley, the group had to pass through the Giant's Mirror. This refers to a section of the wild area nestled between the lush plains and a dusty desert. The mirror is a circular lake with a rock jutting up past the coast, sort of like a handle. I couldn't find any good ecological matches for a real-life area that matches the Giant's Mirror, but perhaps the specifics of the location, along with there being no wetlands present in the Galar region, is indicative of the disappearing wetlands that have been happening for decades. As of 2024, 75% of the UK's wetlands have been lost in the last 300 years. On top of that, they're actually currently disappearing 3 times the rate of the UK's forests, according to the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust. Common attributions to the reasons why these wetlands are in danger include sewage discharge and pollution, water drainage for agriculture and development, and the loss of biodiversity that contributes to wetland life. Loss of plants means the loss of animals that depend on those plants. And maybe that's why Galarian Farfetch'd became a fighting type. Think about it. In Kanto, Farfetch'd is a normal type. It's a duck that arrives with its own leak, a metaphor for a very fortunate turn of events. We also know that because of this, people would actually eat Farfetch'd and hunted them to near extinction. Now we see in Galar a bastion of Farfetch'd that have grown to be more rugged. They guard their leaks like Ronin with their swords, and as a result have gained the fighting type. One such Galarian Farfetch'd was incredibly inspiring to Mairtin, and it in turn took a liking to Mairtin and Shane's Tyrogue twins. After a fierce battle to prove themselves to each other, the Farfetch'd joined Mairtin's team and was instrumental in helping them get through the forest full of dark and fairy-type imps. But then we come to the gym portion of Blomley, and that means bringing up the gym leader, Opal. Opal is an interesting old name, and many have likened her to a particular British monarch, but Nintendo has never made any public statements about exactly who Opal is based on, if anyone. Well, let's look at this. Her name is Opal, which is a gemstone with a lot of connection to spirituality in Vedic astrology. They're associated with love, beauty, and luxury, things that Opal herself definitely seems to value. There's more, though. Opal represents the old fairy godmother trope, the crone, Baba Yaga, Kali, or the village wise woman. Her age and cunning may even reference ancient Celtic seeresses or Druid priestesses, who were often feared and revered in equal measure. Her quiz-based challenge not only references British quiz shows, but also the cunning and quizzical nature of British fairies. There's a chance she may also embody old pantomime dames and Victorian-era theatre. During this time, old women were often played by men dressing in drag. Opal's dramatic flair, garish yet elegant makeup, and theatrical demeanor mirror the flamboyant, eccentric, and powerful comic figures in Victorian plays. And besides, we all know that Fairy type is the most transcoded Pokemon type. As for the battle, Mairtin's 3 best choices boil down to Scorbunny, Ralts, and Rookidee, as fighting types like Farfetch'd and Tyrogue are weak to Fairy-type moves. Opal's Wheezing would fall to Ralts' Psychic Blast, and Scorbunny's Too Hot to Trot for Mawile. Togekiss would provide the most amount of challenge, and it would be up to a joint effort between Rookidee, Ralts, and some tricky cover absorbed by Farfetch'd to come in clutch. Opal is not playing around, and still has some surprising tricks. When she Dynamaxes out Creme in the end, none of our trio has a team that's quite prepared to take her on, and she's able to whip all 3 of them back to the start. Yeah, when I was looking back at this battle, after the other 3, and really evaluating Opal's team, I came to realize that there's no way that they can take all of her fairy types with the Pokemon that they currently have. They don't have enough coverage. None of them has a strong poison type, none of them has a strong steel type, and that's going to be instrumental in this battle, especially with her ace. So they'll probably have to come back and try again later. And because of that, I had to go back and rescind Shane and Madeline's fairy type badges, because there's no way that they got them. There's no way they got them at this point. Oops. So, Opal was satisfied with the results of the battle and approached with a laugh. Ho ho ho! You should tread back the way you came. Have Kabu show you a thing or two about your raised fire types. And so, a bit disappointed and let down, the three left for Motostoke, where the fire leader Kabu awaits. And Kabu may very well be one of the most intriguing gym leaders. If we were to assume a one-to-one comparison to our real life, Kabu, whose name means turnip, is a middle-aged man with Southeast Asian features and has even modeled the Motostoke gym after a sort of Japanese architecture. His emblem looks like a samurai's kabuto, or helmet, but it also looks like the flaming antenna of his ace Pokemon Centiskorch, the Radiator Pokemon. Not only makes us think of those big steel industrial heating coils from the 19th century, but also summons the semiotics of Japanese yokai, specifically the venomous centipede Mukade, with a bite that is said to be more painful than a hornet, and stings and burns. In Gigantamax form, Centiskorch becomes like Omukade, a giant centipede that was said to torment dragons. One particular legend tells of a hero named Fujiwara no Hidesada, who slayed an Omukade near Lake Biwa, specifically Mount Mikami. Canonically, in Pokemon Sword, Kabu comes from the Hoenn region, so he has immigrated to Galar and become a successful gym leader. This could, however, also be a nod at British colonization in Japan around the time of the industrial era that Motostoke is so heavily based on. It's also possible he could be a reference to Hong Kong refugees in the UK, according to England's B&O immigration policy. This was a policy created in 1987 before the handover of Hong Kong to China in 1997. It offered a form of UK nationality to Hong Kong residents who were British Dependent Territory citizens but did not give them the right to live in the UK. Jump to 2020, around the time that this game came out. In response to China's national security law imposed on Hong Kong in June of that year, many critics argued it violated the Sino-British Joint Declaration. In response, the UK launched the B&O visa route in January of 2021, which allowed GNO status holders and their dependents to live and work in the UK for 5 years, apply for permanent settlement, and even apply for British citizenship after 6 years. As of mid-2023, over 160,000 Hong Kongers had applied, and this marked a significant geopolitical move by the US and a rare instance of mass resettlement based on political freedom. Politics of a Pokemon, am I right? So with all this heavy symbolism behind Kabu, it's understanding why he's so compelling. Even his training regimen gives him the sort of practice dedication of an old martial artist or a devoted monk, and his fire aesthetic brings up Shinto cleansing rituals and Hindu fire discipline, commonly called Agni. Mairtin would approach Kabu's gym not just as a challenger, but also like a student, and Kabu would see Mairtin's budding relationship with Scorbunny as a boy and his partner Pokemon running on passion and determination, attitudes that he himself also embodies. Fire Pokemon need rigid training to be effective, he tells him. In order to display this, Kabu's gym challenge would be like a mini tournament of sorts, requiring Mairtin to knock out or capture Fire Pokemon in a point-based system while other hopeful challengers are on the field to hinder or even help his progress. Of these, only one can come out on top though, and for the sake of the narrative, Mairtin is able to pull his team through the fire and the flames to carry on. As a note, this would also be an opportunity for Mairtin, Madeline, or even Shane to pick up fire types like Vulpix, Growlithe, Sizzlipede, or Litwick, but none of these Pokemon make it into their final teams. Kabu's team, in total, are a lot of pure fire types, and his ace is also part bug. This team setup would actually be way easier for the trio to take on. Mairtin could overpower him with Farfetch'd, Rookidee, or Tyrogue. Madeline's Sobble could basically sweep the team, and Shane could hobble through with Wooloo, Tyrogue, and his new Esper. Now with their 3 basic type badges acquired, the group would look toward B's gym at Stone'side. The defeat in Ballonly has taught them one very important thing: they needed a lot more training. So that's where I'm going to leave this story for now, but I'm going to go into something that I've actually been forgetting to mention in every Pokemon crossover so far. ADHD brain, I guess. Each of these numbers, 11, 12, and 13, comes from Celtic numerology. The Irish, the number 11 is a combination of magic and wisdom. What it symbolizes is using one's talents wisely and well to receive magic in abundance. For someone to lack resolve and the willingness to work, the results of magic are negative. Number 12 is a number for preparation for what might be difficult times ahead. For a Pokemon trainer, it looks like carefully choosing and planning your team for the battles ahead, considering things like type weaknesses or special abilities to give you the edge. And 13, while it's often associated with bad luck or evil, in this numerology, it means that all appropriate actions and preparations have been made and an acceptance for the adventure that lies ahead. I chose these numbers because I think that they embody the best aspects of Pokemon battling. Use your team's powers wisely, make preparations to cover your weakness, and lock in for whatever comes next. We'll find out later where this story goes, both in this Pokemon AU and in the Monolith story. Patreon is our main hub where all things involved with Tales of Atonement, and our patron support helps us produce our episodes faster and with more consistency. But what's in it for you? From there you can find our Tales of Atonement Discord server, art, music, comics, as well as exclusive viewership for upcoming scripts. Supporting us on Patreon is what shows us we're part of a growing community of artists, actors, history buffs, and storytellers that have become fascinated with our characters these past couple of years. This is our passion project we've put our hearts and souls into over 20 years, and your support really helps keep that flame alive. Right now, a big thanks to Pammy Poo, Heinrich28, Shadow Fox, Charles Tam, Arya Gamari, Jace Morland, and Lunder Lumen. And of course, everyone who joins us each week. At the very least, I hope you'll like this video, subscribe, and ring my bell if it really resonated with you. And I'll see you again next week. Many a mickle, Maximukle.